In our last story, we left Jacob in the land of his uncle Laban, having served him for 20 years. But the winds of change were blowing. The very air grew thick with resentment. Jacob heard the whispers of Laban's sons, their voices laced with envy. Jacob has taken everything that was our father's, they murmured. From our father's property he has gained all this wealth. And Jacob saw it in Laban's face. The warmth was gone, replaced by a cold distance. It was then that the Lord spoke to him, a firm and reassuring voice cutting through the tension. Return to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you. Jacob knew he could not delay. He sent for Rachel and Leah, calling them out to the fields, away from the prying ears of the household. He told them everything. I see that your father's face is not toward me as it was before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I served your father with all my might, yet he has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not permit him to harm me. Jacob recounted how God had turned Laban's schemes to his own benefit, ensuring that the flocks he was promised were the very ones that flourished. Thus, he said, God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. He even told them of his dream, where an angel of God showed him how the flocks would multiply in his favor, reminding him of the vow he had made so long ago at Bethel. Rachel and Leah did not hesitate. Their loyalty was not to the father who had treated them like commodities. Is there any portion or inheritance left for us in our father's house? They asked. He has sold us and used up our money. All the riches God has taken from our father are now ours and our children's. So whatever God has told you to do, do it. And so, under the cloak of secrecy, Jacob made his move. He set his wives and his sons on camels, gathered all his livestock, all the goods he had acquired in Paddan Aram, and began the long journey back to Canaan, back to his father, Isaac. He fled while Laban was away shearing sheep, stealing away without a word. But Rachel, in a fateful decision, stole her father's household idols, a secret she kept even from Jacob. 3 days later, word reached Laban that Jacob had fled. Consumed by rage, he gathered his kinsmen and pursued them for 7 days, finally catching them in the hill country of Gilead. He had it in his power to do them great harm, but God intervened. In a dream that night, God came to Laban and warned him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." The next morning, the confrontation was tense. "What have you done?" Laban demanded, his voice a mix of anger and feigned hurt. "You've tricked me and carried off my daughters like captives of war. Why did you flee in secret? I would have sent you off with songs and music. You didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye." Then came the pointed question, the real reason for his pursuit. "You longed for your father's house, and so you had to leave. But why did you steal my gods?" Jacob, ignorant of Rachel's theft, was indignant. He denied the charge fiercely. "The one with whom you find your gods shall not live," he declared. Laban searched every tent. He went through Jacob's, then Leah's, then the tents of the 2 maidservants, but found nothing. Finally, he entered Rachel's tent. She had cleverly taken the idols, hidden them in her camel's saddle, and was sitting on them. "My lord," she said to her father, "do not be angry that I cannot rise, for the custom of women is upon me." And so his search came up empty. Now it was Jacob's turn. His fear turned to fury, the frustration of 20 years of mistreatment boiling over. "What is my crime?" he shouted. "What is my sin that you had so hotly pursued me? You have rummaged through all my possessions. What have you found of your household goods? Set it here before our kinsmen, and let them judge between us. For 20 years I was with you. Your ewes and female goats never miscarried. I never ate the rams of your flock. What was torn by wild beasts, I bore the loss myself. I did not bring it to you. By day the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and sleet slid from my eyes. 14 years I served you for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, surely you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and he rebuked you last night." Humbled and with no ground to stand on, Laban proposed a covenant. They gathered stones and made a heap as a witness between them. "The Lord watch between you and me. when we are out of each other's sight," Laban said, setting a boundary that neither would cross to harm the other. The next morning, Laban kissed his daughters and grandchildren, blessed them, and returned home. Jacob, now truly free, went on his way. But one fear was replaced by another, greater one. The memory of his brother Esau, whom he had cheated of his birthright and blessing, loomed large. As Jacob journeyed on, the angels of God met him, a sign of divine protection, but his human fear remained. He sent messengers ahead to the land of Edom with a humble message for his brother. But the messengers returned with terrifying news. "We met your brother Esau, and he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. He divided his people, his flocks, and herds into two groups, thinking that if Esau attacked one, the other might escape. Then, in his moment of deepest dread, he prayed, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, I am not worthy of the least of all the deeds of steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him." That night he prepared a magnificent present for Esau, hundreds of goats, ewes, and rams, camels, cows, and donkeys. He sent them ahead in droves, instructing his servants to tell Esau it was a gift from his servant Jacob, who was following behind. He hoped to appease his brother's anger. After sending the gifts, his family, and all his possessions across the brook of Jabbok, Jacob was left utterly alone in the darkness. And there, a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he could not prevail against Jacob, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, and it was put out of joint. "Let me go," the man said, "for the day is breaking." But Jacob, clinging to him, bruised and injured, said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." He blessed him there, and as the sun rose, Jacob, now Israel, limped away from that place, which he called Peniel, for he said, "I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been preserved." Limping, but with a new name and a renewed spirit, Jacob lifted his eyes and saw him. Esau was coming, and with him 400 men. Jacob arranged his family, bowing to the ground 7 times as he approached. But the attack he feared never came. Instead, Esau ran to meet him, threw his arms around his neck, and kissed him. And they both wept. The 20 years of bitterness washed away in a moment of forgiveness. Esau graciously accepted Jacob's gift, and after a brief reunion, the brothers parted in peace, Esau returning to Seir and Jacob continuing his journey. Jacob settled for a time near the city of Shechem, buying a piece of land and building an altar. But peace would be short-lived. His only daughter, Dinah, went out to visit the women of the land, where she was seen by the prince of the region, also named Shechem. He seized her and violated her. But afterward his soul was drawn to her, and he fell deeply in love, asking his father to arrange a marriage. When Jacob's sons heard what had been done to their sister, they were filled with grief and a burning rage. When the prince and his father came to negotiate, proposing intermarriage and the sharing of the land, Jacob's sons answered with deceit. They agreed, but on one condition, that every male in the city of Shechem be circumcised, as they were. Driven by his love for Dinah and the prospect of absorbing Jacob's wealth, the prince and all the men of his city agreed. On the 3rd day, when the men were sore and at their most vulnerable, 2 of Dinah's full brothers, Simeon and Levi, took their swords, entered the unsuspecting city, and slaughtered every male, including the prince and his father. They took their sister Dinah from the prince's house and left. The other brothers then came and plundered the city, taking all their livestock, wealth, women, and children captive as retribution for their sister's dishonor. Jacob was horrified. "You have brought trouble on me," he cried, "by making me a stench to the inhabitants of the land. We are few in number, and they will gather against me and destroy my household." But his sons, their hearts hardened by vengeance, replied coldly, "Should he have treated our sister like a prostitute?" In the aftermath of this violence, God commanded Jacob once again, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there. Make an altar to the God who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." Before they left, Jacob instructed his entire household to put away all their foreign gods, the idols Rachel had stolen and others they had acquired. They buried them under an oak tree, purifying themselves before traveling to the holy place. A terror from God fell upon the surrounding cities, and no one dared pursue them. At Bethel, God appeared to him again, reaffirming his new name, Israel, and renewing the great promise given to Abraham and Isaac. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come from your own body. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac I will give to you, and to your offspring after you. Yet the journey was still marked by sorrow. As they traveled on, Rachel, Jacob's beloved wife, went into labor. It was a difficult birth, and as her soul was departing, she gave birth to a son. She named him Benoni, son of my sorrow, but Jacob called him Benjamin, son of my right hand. Rachel died and was buried there on the way to Bethlehem. The family, now complete with 12 sons, finally came to Hebron, to the side of their father, Isaac. Jacob, the trickster, who had fled in fear, returned as Israel, the patriarch of a nation, reconciled with his brother. He was home. Soon after, Isaac, old and full of days, breathed his last. And his 2 sons, Esau and Jacob, once bitter rivals, stood together to bury their father, closing a long and tumultuous chapter in their family's story.